So chasing the pain is something that we use when our logical mind is really, resisting the healing process. And so we're having difficulty um, identifying what it is we're thinking, or we just get overwhelmed. Sometimes maybe the level of trauma is too high, and it's something that you can use to just start working in a place that you can already identify. So most of the time, this is a feeling in your body, a pain or a sensation. It doesn't even actually have to be pain. It can be a sensation. It can be a perception, okay? So what I would recommend that you do is that you just start by asking yourself, where do I feel this in my body, okay? So you just really tune in. You want to get really relaxed. Just really tune in to your body and just sense, where is this feeling in my body, okay? And once you get that down, you want to think about, okay, well, now that I've identified this, like say in your stomach, okay, you can ask yourself a few more questions. What is the nature of the pain? What is the quality of the pain? Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it aching? Just go ahead and explore that. See if you can get a little more information about that. And I would recommend you write this down, okay, so you can create your own statements. Then you may want to tune in and see if possibly you can see the pain. So what you want to do is just close your eyes, and you can allow the visualization to come to you. And maybe you might see colors or shapes or textures. And it's best not to judge what you see, just allow the visualization to come to you. Write that down as well. You get that information. So let's just imagine that you identified the feeling in your stomach, and then you said that it was a dull ache, and it was in the pit of your stomach. And sometimes the words will just come to you while you're talking or writing it out. And that perhaps you can even say that it looks like a big gray blob, okay? And again, don't judge it if it comes to you like really fast. You're just like, oh, big gray blob. Don't judge it. Just go with it. So you've got a pain in your stomach that's dull and achy, and it's a big gray blob, right? So that sounds kind of ridiculous, but I promise you it's going to get you somewhere, all right? So once you do that, that's probably enough to start with. Even if you didn't even get that much information, even if you just got, okay, I have a pain in my stomach, or I feel it in my stomach, or sensation there, you can just tap with that. But it's great that you can get a little more specific information. So you take that information and you create the setup statement with that information. So for instance, that setup statement would be, even though I have this pain in my stomach, this big gray blob that's like a dull ache. So you see how I just put that together? It's really simple. I am willing to consider accepting that this is how I feel right now. Or if you want to go straight into a real straight up affirmation, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. If you're not ready for that, you can do like a choices statement where that's where you could say, I'm willing to consider that I won't always have this pain. Or I might consider the possibility of releasing it. So you don't want to just rush right into actually saying that you're releasing it if you don't feel like that's true. So if your nervous system's kind of like, no, that's not going to happen. If you can kind of feel that when you say it out loud, it's okay to switch to an alternate statement that isn't just a straight affirmation that your nervous system doesn't agree with. So once you get that, then what you can do is something really, really simple. You can either just tap and say this pain, okay? You can just say this pain on every point. Or you can start describing the pain, just like whatever it is you have that you've written down in your journal. You can just, on each point, you can basically tell a story about the pain. So you can say, there's this pain in my stomach. It's a big gray blob. It's a dull ache, and just keep talking about it. And I'm going to the underarm points now. And as you do this on a round, you may find that more information comes out. And you might even be like, well, I don't know where this comes from. Or it might start shifting. So if you come back to the side of the hand, if you get more information, right? Like if all of a sudden it's become anxious. Oh, now it feels anxious, you know. Well, even though now I have this anxious pain in my stomach, you know, and sort of rephrase it, then go back through and say, you know, now I feel anxious, this anxious feeling in my stomach, this big gray blob that's so anxious, you know, and you just work through the story as you tap. Don't try to push the story forward unless you actually have the information, but just use the information that you have, right? And then you get all the way through, and then I recommend doing at least like 3 rounds, okay? Here's an example. When you come back to the side of the hand, you can either just keep going with the story, or you can redo the setup statement if you have new information, as in another aspect comes up, or a new pain. Maybe the pain changes, or maybe it doesn't feel like pain anymore. Maybe it feels like frustration or sadness, or maybe something else comes up. So anytime you get a new aspect, meaning something different than what you started with, you do a new setup statement. Even though I feel this sadness in my stomach now. So, and I also tell you that sometimes you can get images, like once I was doing a work like this with a coach, and I saw butterflies in my stomach, and then, you know, I started to talk about the butterflies, and then that really kind of led me somewhere, and I ended up going from like a 10 on a scale all the way down to a 0 in like 3 rounds of tapping. So you guys, the reason why this works is because it's working on the subconscious mind. It's working on the level of the body, so we don't have to figure it out with our mind in order for it to work. But it's moving those stuck energies in the body by focusing on where it's showing up in the body. And typically, our feelings are going to manifest, if we don't deal with them, into a physical symptom. So again, I mean, obviously, if you have an actual like physical ailment, you're going to want to see your doctor. So you don't do this instead of going to the doctor, but you're doing it to help, you know, as a supplement to help alleviate pain, or to work on an issue that's emotional that you can't identify yet with words. Okay, does that make sense? Great, okay. So I hope that helps you all. Again, that's called Chasing the Pain, and it's something that you can do on your own. I would say that don't overthink it. Just get out your pen and paper, write a few notes down, just start tapping, and just do the best you can with the information that you get. Always remember to check your SUD level, meaning your subjective unit of distress, just a fancy word for like, how stressed out am I at the beginning of this versus how stressed out I am at the end, or how high is this pain at the beginning versus where did it go to the end. So you're always looking at a 0 to 10 scale there, 0 being like the least amount, 10 being the most. And it's always good to take that measurement. I like to always write it down because sometimes I forget in the beginning what it was. If you have trouble getting the SUD number, don't worry about it and just measure it like mild, moderate, high, you know, so just don't overthink it. All right, everyone, I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that you try it out, give it a try, and definitely leave some comments here. I'd love to hear from you, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.